in the first campaign where Hillary Clinton was about 4 states too early, and she was talking about how bad coal was and how they were going to teach coal miners how to make widgets and gadgets and technology, which they didn't want to do. They want to mine. One thing I learned about the coal miners, that's what they want to do. You could give them a penthouse on Fifth Avenue and a different kind of a job, and they'd be unhappy. They want to mine coal. That's what they love to do. And she was going to put them in.
That's funny. Unironically, this is like the average West Virginian coal worker, though, judging by their voting record. Like the not even like coal worker, just like the average West Virginian voter. There's like 5 coal jobs left in West Virginia, and the entire state will sway towards any politician who promises to bring more over, even though they all suck. They do actually yearn for the mines. It's true.
A high-tech industry where you make little cell phones and things. I don't know. Do you think he'd be good at that? I don't know. I wouldn't be. You don't want to be. And she was brutal about 3 weeks before, but then she had a problem. She went to West Virginia looking for votes, and that was a bad situation.
I lived in West Virginia for 4 years, went to Marshall University. The phrase Friends of Coal was plastered everywhere at the Marshall football stadium. It's just funny because, like, there's not actually that many coal jobs. It's like how in Pennsylvania, everyone's talking about fracking jobs this, fracking jobs that. Dude, it's like 10,000 jobs. The state is millions of people. And like, most adults work. It's so fucking stupid. Why do we keep like bending over backwards to pander to these tiny, tiny worker demographics? Like people who work in the auto industry. They pay better than gig jobs, TBH? Well, everything does. But also, if we're gonna do that, then why not just do that with anything? If we're gonna engage in that kind of magical thinking. We want more CEO jobs. I don't know, why not? Like, if there's like no coal jobs, there's no fracking jobs, there aren't that many. It is a fossil fuel industry psyop to convince people that these things are more essential to the economy and the workers than they actually are. In reality, the people who care about coal and oil and fracking are the CEOs and the shareholders of those industries. It's not like a massive bedrock for workers. Like, say, for example, the service industry. But who's out there protecting the service industry workers? Fucking no one. Why don't we do that? Where's that solidarity? Nobody goes to an area and they're like, well, hey, to all the waiters and waitresses, you know, there's way the fuck more of them than there are fracking workers, and they need the help more. I live in Pennsylvania. Our Dem governor keeps gaslighting the population that fracking is literally millions of jobs because it gives the state billions in income. Yeah, this is what I mean when I say like the experiment is kind of over. It's like every little thing like that was a little compromise towards falsehood that paved the path to this. Dem and Republican. Like every time a politician did that, every time a corporation was allowed to do that, we moved closer and closer to this, which feels like more or less the end point, right? Maybe we're getting there. Maybe this administration goes further, but ideologically, we're already about as committed to anti-empiricism as is possible. I don't think that there's much ideologically different between this administration and, say, the Nazis, right? Like, it's mostly just a matter of circumstantial convenience. All the logic that they're using right now about how, I mean, we're going to look at it after this video, but Pam Bondi is literally saying, like, yes, we will actually use the gulag that's been built in El Salvador to deport American citizens or whatever. Like, it's not, like, all the steps on the staircase have been built. It's just a matter of walking up it at this point. The problem is the MAGA crowd has bought the grift so much they don't want the shame of realizing they're a mark. Yeah, well, I really do think that a lot of them think it's like an economy of sharks and they're the shark. And they don't realize they're the minnow or whatever. Is a minnow a fish or a bird? I think it's a fish. And that's like all of them. Like all of them, the ones whose job it is to repeat the propaganda, I mean. And all the ones who go online and lie. They know they're lying. They 100% know they're lying. But they all think they're doing it to, like, outsmart the little guy. They all think they're coming out on top in this interaction. You know? They're all embarrassed future millionaires. Dude, crypto and sports gambling made that phenomenon so much worse, because the temporarily embarrassed millionaire used to refer to a guy who thought that if you worked really hard at your job and saved well and were frugal, you could like get promoted and eventually be like a big boss man. And nowadays it's, well, if you buy in on the right crypto coin or like leverage your assets to do a short sell when the meme man on the YouTube tells you to do the short sell, and instantly your net worth gets multiplied 400 times because you got lucky, ignore all the people who failed. Like now and the fucked up thing is they're right. If you're lucky, anyone can become a millionaire. It's gambling, right? And unlike a casino where your ass is not walking out of a casino with $1 million, you can get insanely wealthy off of day trading. Odds are you won't. Odds are you'll go bankrupt trying, but you could. So now the temporarily embarrassed millionaire phenomenon is being backed up by a model of economic growth that allows for people to delude themselves into thinking that the conditions are being created for them to be the ones to ascend. And then when they don't, and they fail and they fall, they're too ashamed to admit that, so they just pretend to be a shark swimming in chum-filled waters when in reality they're like a neat. And then when the evidence becomes overwhelming that none of this is for their benefit, they pretend that the entire time they were okay with being losers and that Trump's presidency is losers' revenge against the people who have succeeded. You know? No, really, because then the final stage is when they're like, well, I never thought any of this was going to make anyone happy or do anything good for anyone. I'm like a basement-dwelling neat, and this is my revenge against you guys. They're all doing like the political equivalent of a school shooting, you know, where it's just like vindictive, it's all the Stacys who do well in college, even though I can't, you know, that's like the final stage of it. Enjoy being terrible people. Yeah, well, the problem is like they don't, but they're still making it your problem. Like they're miserable, but that doesn't stop them from doing the thing, right? It basically is like a political version of a school shooting, you know? And I don't derive that much joy from like, you know, after the Parkland shooting happens or whatever. I'm like, well, at least the shooter is miserable. Yeah, he's miserable. The Parkland shooter survived, right? I'm sure they beat his ass in prison every day. But that doesn't, like, fix anything.